If you are 62 or older and you receive Social Security, subscribe right now. June 10th is the first Social Security payment date of June 2026 for the largest group of retirement and disability beneficiaries. This video covers exactly who gets paid on June 10th, exactly how much you should expect to see in your account every other June payment date for beneficiaries who are not in the June 10th group, and a step-by-step process for identifying why your amount may be lower than it should be, and what to do about it before July arrives. Here is something that happens in household after household every time a Social Security payment date arrives. The deposit lands. The account holder looks at the number, and somewhere in their mind, a question forms. Is this right? Is this the amount I should be receiving? Sometimes the answer is yes, and the question fades. Sometimes the answer is no, and the person does not know where to begin. June is a particularly important month to ask this question carefully, because June 2026 is the first clean, uninterrupted payment month since January. No calendar quirks, no unusual gaps, no early payments from SSI schedule shifts. June payments are going out exactly when they should, in exactly the amounts they should. If your deposit is not what you expect, June is the month to figure out why. This video gives you the tools to do that. Start with who gets paid on June 10th and why. The Social Security Administration distributes retirement and disability benefits on a staggered Wednesday schedule. The specific Wednesday depends entirely on the day of the month that a beneficiary's birthday falls on. If your birthday falls on any date between the 1st and the 10th of any month, your Social Security payment arrives on the second Wednesday of the month. In June 2026, the second Wednesday is June 10th. That is the date when everyone in this birthday group receives their retirement or disability deposit. If your birthday falls between the 11th and the 20th of any month, your June payment arrives on June 17th, the third Wednesday. And if your birthday falls between the 21st and the 31st of any month, your June payment arrives on June 24th, the fourth Wednesday. These dates are confirmed by the Social Security Administration's official 2026 payment calendar and are not affected by any federal holidays in June. For SSI recipients, the schedule is different. Supplemental Security income payments are issued on the first of each month. June first falls on a Monday, a standard business day, which means SSI recipients received their June payment on June 1st without any early payment adjustment. There is no complication in June's SSI schedule. The payment arrived on the expected date. For beneficiaries who enrolled in Social Security before May of 1997, a smaller, longer tenured group, payments are issued on the 3rd of each month. June 3rd is a Wednesday, which is a regular business day, so this group's June payment also arrived on its standard date. Now, here is the question that matters most for every beneficiary, regardless of which date their payment arrives on. Is the amount correct? To answer that question, you need to understand what determines your specific monthly amount and where the most common errors and reductions occur. The gross benefit, the total benefit you are entitled to based on your earnings history and claiming age, is calculated once by the Social Security Administration and is adjusted each January for the annual cost of living increase. For 2026, that increase was 2.8%. According to confirmed data, the average monthly retirement benefit in 2026 is approximately $2,081. But the amount that actually lands in your bank account may be different from your gross benefit, sometimes significantly different, because of deductions that are applied before the payment is issued. The most common and most significant deduction is the Medicare Part B premium. For most Medicare-enrolled Social Security recipients, the standard monthly Part B premium is deducted directly from the Social Security payment before it is sent. In 2026, the standard Part B premium is just over $200 per month. For a beneficiary with a gross benefit of $2,080, the net deposit after the standard Part B deduction is approximately $1,877. If your deposit is approximately $200 less than your gross benefit, the Medicare deduction is almost certainly the explanation. If your deposit is more than $200 less than your gross benefit, you may be subject to what is called an IRMAA surcharge, an income-related adjustment that increases the Part B premium for beneficiaries whose income from 2 years ago exceeded certain thresholds. IRMAA surcharges range from approximately $70 to nearly $500 per month on top of the standard premium, depending on the income tier. Consider someone like Dorothy, a 70-year-old retired librarian from Nashville, Tennessee, who has been receiving Social Security for 4 years. Dorothy's gross benefit is $2,140 per month. Her June 10th deposit was $1,937. The difference, $203, is exactly her standard Medicare Part B premium. Dorothy knows this. She planned her budget around the net figure years ago. But every time she mentions her Social Security to a friend or family member, she quotes the gross number, the number she thinks of as her benefit, and then the actual deposit lands $200 lower than that number, and the people around her are briefly confused. Dorothy's situation illustrates how the gross to net gap creates ongoing confusion even for beneficiaries who fully understand it. Beyond the Medicare deduction, there are 4 other reasons your June deposit may be lower than expected, and each of them requires a different response. The first is voluntary federal income tax withholding. If you elected to have taxes withheld from your Social Security payment, by submitting a form to the SSA requesting withholding at a specific rate. That withholding is coming out of every monthly payment. Withholding rates of 7%, 10%, 12%, or 22% of the gross benefit can be elected. If your tax situation has changed since you made that election, if your overall income has dropped, if you retired a second time, if a spouse passed away and your filing status changed, or your outfafki or alk your bri ampur ampat outboksham withbot or bar withholding may no longer reflect your actual tax liability. You can change or stop the withholding at any time by submitting a new form to the SSA. The second reason for a lower than expected deposit is an overpayment recovery. If SSA determined at some point that you received more benefits than you were entitled to, for any reason, including administrative errors that were not your fault, the agency can recover that overpayment by reducing future benefit payments. The standard recovery rate is 10% of the monthly benefit per month until the overpayment is repaid in full. You should have received a written notice before overpayment recovery began. If you believe the overpayment amount is incorrect, you can appeal. If the recovery rate is causing financial hardship, you can request a reduction. And if the overpayment was not your fault and recovery would be against equity and good conscience, you can request a full waiver. All 3 options require written requests and have specific deadlines. Consider someone like Walter, a 68-year-old retired maintenance supervisor from Richmond, Virginia, who noticed in May that his Social Security deposit was consistently about $160 lower than his gross benefit statement showed. Even after accounting for his Medicare deduction, he had been assuming the difference was a tax he did not fully understand. When he finally called the Social Security Administration and asked for a line-by-line explanation of his payment calculation, the representative identified an overpayment recovery that had been in place for 14 months. The overpayment had been assessed following a routine review of Walter's earnings records from 2 years prior. Walter had received a notice about it, Martin de Lautartinas Ada, but it had gone to an address he had moved away from. He had never seen the notice. He had never had the opportunity to appeal or request a waiver. By the time he discovered the recovery through his own inquiry, the appeal window had closed. The recovery continued until the full amount was repaid. The third reason for a lower deposit involves the windfall elimination provision or government pension offset, reductions that for many beneficiaries should no longer be occurring. The Social Security Fairness Act, signed into law in January 2025, eliminated both of these provisions. SSA has been processing corrections and issuing retroactive payments to affected public sector workers and their families. But the processing is not complete. Some affected beneficiaries are still receiving the old reduced amount while their correction works through the queue. If you worked in a government job that did not withhold Social Security taxes, as a teacher, firefighter, police officer, or other public employee, and your benefit has not increased since early 2025, your correction may still be pending. You have the right to contact the Social Security Administration directly and ask for a specific status update on your Fairness Act correction case. The fourth reason applies specifically to beneficiaries who are under full retirement age and still earning income from work. If your annual earnings from work in 2026 exceed the applicable earnings test threshold, just over $24,000 for those who will not reach full retirement age this year, the Social Security Administration will withhold $1 from your benefits for every $2 you earn above that threshold. The withholding often comes as entire suspended monthly payments rather than as small monthly reductions. A beneficiary who crossed the earnings threshold earlier in the year may find that their June payment reflects a withholding rather than a full monthly benefit. The amount withheld is not permanently lost. It is credited back when the beneficiary reaches full retirement age. But in the months before that restoration, the reduced deposit is real. Here is the step-by-step process for checking whether your June payment is correct. The first step is to log in to your My Social Security account and pull up your benefit verification letter. This document shows your current gross monthly benefit, maltreats, the amount before any deductions. The second step is to compare that gross benefit to your actual June deposit. The difference between the two numbers is explained by deductions. The third step is to identify which deductions account for the gap. If the gap is approximately $200, the standard Medicare deduction explains it. If the gap is larger, check whether you are subject to an IRMAA surcharge, voluntary tax withholding, or an overpayment recovery. If the gap is entirely unexpected and cannot be explained by any of these factors, the fourth step is to contact the Social Security Administration directly to ask for a complete breakdown of what was applied to your June payment. One final alert. Scammers are specifically targeting June payment dates right now. Calling seniors and claiming that their June payment has been reduced under a new rule and that they must verify personal information or pay a fee to receive the full amount. The Social Security Administration does not call beneficiaries to announce payment reductions and request verification over the phone. Legitimate SSA communication about payment adjustments arrives by mail. If you receive a call claiming your June payment was reduced and asking for personal information, hang up immediately. Verify your actual payment status only through your My Social Security account or through official contact you initiate yourself. Here is the confirmed summary. June 10th is the confirmed payment date for Social Security retirement and disability recipients whose birthdays fall between the 1st and the 10th of any month. June 17th is the payment date for those with birthdays between the 11th and the 20th. June 24th is the payment date for those with birthdays between the 21st and the 31st. SSI payments arrived June 1st. Pre-1997 enrollees received their payment June 3rd. The average monthly retirement benefit is approximately $2,081. The standard Medicare Part B deduction of just over $200 reduces the net deposit for most Medicare-enrolled beneficiaries. Other potential reductions include IRMAA surcharges, voluntary tax withholding, overpayment recovery, and earnings test withholding. Your Fairness Act correction may still be pending if you worked in a covered public sector position. Every reduction has a specific cause and most have a specific remedy. Leave a comment below with your state and your situation. Every comment is read. Subscribe so you do not miss the July schedule update. July brings 2 SSI payments in a single month, and knowing the schedule before it arrives is always better than finding out after your expected deposit date has passed.